G'day. Today we are going to be trying a 78-year-old wine. I'm Trent.
And I'm Jason, and we're the Wind Up Podcast. We're unfiltered and unapologetically unprofessional. And we've got a special friend with us today, Nishant, our good friend from high school and university, to share this episode with. And as we say here, drink more, try more, learn more. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. So before we get into this special episode, I thought I'd share my thought of the week.
Yeah.
Which is about the three of us and the power of wine to bring friends together. It's got a very binding nature. Like I said, we're long-term friends. I've known you since high school. We've known each other since university days.
Yeah.
And over time, I think we've had different interests. Like if I think about what brought us together as friends, apart from being in school, we'd often go to each other's house and play a bit of Nintendo, a bit of Mario Brothers. So that's when we were a bit younger. Also in school, we'd have, it was all boys school. So if there was a female teacher around, we'd bond over that. We'd say she's hot. That was another thing.
Good, that's not the male teacher. There'll be another thing.
That's another story.
We did go to a Catholic school.
But nothing happened there. If we think about uni days where we met, the binding force was basketball. We used to play quite often, probably 2 times a week. And then we grew a bit older and that's where things started to...
Not that much older though, right?
Not that much older, but that's where we probably didn't see each other as often.
Yeah.
What happens is work, wife, kids, all of that kind of takes your time.
Yeah.
Life happens.
Yeah.
And then you kind of lose that binding thing. But I found that wine's kind of brought us back together. Not that we weren't friends, but we spend more time together because of the power of wine. We've got this kind of shared interest that we all enjoy about it.
Sounds like that Celine Dion song, the power of wine, but it's power of something else, isn't it?
Power of love, I think.
Power of love. I guess you could.
The love for wine, I think.
Yeah, I guess if you want to sing a couple of bars as well, it'll help me jog the memory.
Need a few more drinks first.
Few more drinks. And so that's what I was thinking about. I was kind of thinking about, look, because we've got this shared interest, we're hanging around together more. And it's in fact, we've got an annual Easter pilgrimage where we're having wine together. And we're discussing this. And that was actually the genesis of this podcast. If you remember, a couple of years back, we were talking about this. And so, look, wine tastes good. Wine's fantastic. But I think it's another thing that we can all share as friends. And it binds us together, which is what I was thinking about.
Wow, the magic of wine.
The power of wine.
The power of wine.
What were you thinking about, Trent?
So what I think is... I don't know whether you guys can see it, but today we're going to have a port. And then when I think about port, I think about Porto. I know that you've been there before, but besides port being the wine, there's another thing that also comes to, I guess, front of mind for me. And I don't know, what do you guys think of when you think about Porto and port?
I just think of Portugal. That's
Portugal. Ronaldo? No.
Oh, no.
Well, for me, it's more about the wines for Porto because... Ronaldo was more sporting Lisbon, but anyways. But for me, definitely Porto was around the food and the wine, just the pairings. Yeah.
So the one that kind of came to me was the Pasteis de nata, which is the Portuguese Tart. So it's come more and more, I think, prevalent and popular in Australia. So
the egg tart, is that what it is?
Don't call it an egg tart. It's like a custardy tart, right?
Okay, so it's okay.
With a flaky pastry, and the one that's really popular in Lisbon. Do you remember the name of it?
I don't actually know.
The place is called Pastéis de Belem. So just near the monastery there, people queue up, and it's one of the best places, and it's unbelievable if you get a chance to visit Lisbon there to try the Pasteis de nata. And I thought it's very relevant today because it's a sweet.
Yeah.
And we're going to have port, which is a sweet wine, which should pair together. So I've got some here.
Oh, wow.
Oh, look at that.
What is that? That's a Sweet Belem.
Sweet Belem. So I didn't quite get to go to Lisbon, but I did go to Petersham, which is close to it, I think. And they do these wonderful pastries, Portuguese tarts, and we're going to share a few today as we have the port.
Oh, beautiful.
So we'll go through it in You can see that. So it's this beautiful kind of egg tart.
It's egg tart. That's what I said. Like
Custard tart,
Custard tart.
which kind of like it's kind of bronze on the top, which gives that kind of the creamy kind of burnt kind of caramel kind of flavor to it. And often they have that kind of little dash of cinnamon as well on top of it. So we'll try this, which is going to be unbelievable. And then we're going to try the port as well together and see whether it's a marriage made in heaven.
and we'll be in Lisbon. That's great.
Yeah, take you to Porto.
Take you to Porto. Sounds like another Celine Dion song.
Yeah.
Good.
So what have you been drinking, Jace?
What have I been drinking? So this week was a really special week, actually. It was my sister-in-law's wedding, and it was down in Bowral, the southern Highlands of New South Wales. And that's a wine region in New South Wales. So there was quite a bit of wine consumed. But the wine I was thinking about, we had in their pre-wedding party. So they had a pre-wedding party in a place called Briar's Inn. And it was a beautiful place. Have you been there before?
No.
It was a beautiful place. The sun was shining. It was a nice, warm spring afternoon. Lots of people dressed up.
That's the power of love.
And wine. And wine.
And wine. Keep on singing that Celine Dion song. I like it. But in there, they were saving a fair bit of wine. We had a wine from Artemis Wines.
Yeah.
It was a Pinot Grigio, a 2023 wine. And it just suited the occasion. It was a warm spring day.
Yeah.
Lime peach flavors.
Refreshing.
Great balance of acidity. Very refreshing. Great to meet a lot of new people at the wedding. So I'm keen to try a few more of their wines.
Sounds good. Where is Artemis from? Was it?
Southern Highlands.
Southern Highlands. Oh, from that local area.
Correct.
Awesome.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a pretty popular one, and they actually do a pretty good pizza board and so forth.
Awesome.
On the
You've been
weekends.
there as well? Yeah. Okay, great.
I feel I'm the one missing out. Better speak.
Well, I've bought a few wines from the area, so
Yeah.
we'll have another episode on
Awesome.
that.
Sounds good. So on to the episode today. And as I mentioned, we're trying a 78-year-old wine. In particular, it's a port wine. And so I thought I'd give you a bit of context behind it in terms of what port is, port and Porto. So you can tell the name kind of comes from the area Porto, which is a city within Portugal. And it is a fortified wine. And do you know what a fortified wine is?
No.
No?
What is a fortified wine?
So with normal wines or still wines, they normally do a dry ferment of the wine, so turning all the sugars into alcohol. Mm-hmm. But for port, they add a clear grape spirit to it to stop the fermentation process. And what that means is it preserves the sugars in it, hence it creates a sweet wine.
Okay.
And also adds alcohol to it as well. So that sweetness still has a kind of alcohol, which tends to be slightly higher than what still wine is.
Yeah.
But it produces, I think, something that we should also try a lot more often as well. So in terms of these fortified wines. So the spirit they normally add is normally brandy. To it.
Okay.
It's a bit of that. But yeah, we'll see what this one is. In port, they tend to only use, or a proper port is only really using Portuguese grapes as well. So the Portuguese grapes that they kind of mention is there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 there: Touriga Franca, Tinta Roriz, Tinta Barroca, Touriga Nacional, Tinta Cal, and Tinta Amarela. So all grapes that we never actually heard of before.
Everything with a tinta. Got it.
Tinta, yeah. But if it were going to be a real port, it'll be using those grapes, and they create different types of port wines. So the three main ones that they make is the ruby port, the tawny port, and the white port. So the ruby port tends to be the kind of the cheaper one, using less of the aged grapes. The tawny port we're having today is more that kind of aged barreling. Ones we're going to try today is obviously from 78 years ago, but they aged in 14 years before we actually try it. So a lot more expensive, a lot more complex. And the other one is the white port, which uses indigenous grapes from around Porto, which is the Rabigato, Viocino, Gouveia, and Malvasia. How's that Portuguese?
He sounds Portuguese. I've never been. Does he sound?
He sounded like a local.
Yeah.
Sounds like a local.
So if you go to Porto, amazing place to go. Along the shores there of Port, all the colours. And what you see is some of those really prominent names that create port. Sandman, Ferreira, Callum, and Taylor's. So it's a beautiful area. And the reason why they have there on the port is where all the port grapes are grown is around the Douro Valley. So upper to the west of Portugal. And what they do is they pick those grapes. And the old days, you had to carry them through. But how do you carry them through? They had the Douro River. They put them onto these big ships that kind of go down. So you see these iconic vistas or images of the boats carrying all these grapes down towards the warehouses around port with all these colours where they store and create port wines that you try. So if you ever do get a chance to go there, go to those places I mentioned. Also, there's many more as well. You do a tasting of all the various types of ports, because I think we always think of port as this old person's wine.
Yes. Yeah, it does come across like that.
But when I went there, it really kind of opened my eyes to all these different type of flavors as well. Very beautiful types of sweet, nuanced, complex type of wines that we should also try a lot more often. And we'll try it today as well. But I guess for today, we're not going to port. We're not trying those Portuguese grapes. We're going to try a different type of port, which is a Penfolds port using Shiraz grapes. And again, a very special wine. I'll just pass it on over to Nishant now to kind of speak more about why it's so special as well.
Yeah. So I think firstly, it's great to be here because usually I'm on the other side as a viewer. So seeing how you guys all set up and, start the episode and so forth. But the reason why I sort of chose port as the wine for us is that every time we actually drink, or when I drink and open up any of my bottles, is when we're all together. It's rarely that I open it up, apart from family, but it's usually gatherings. And I wanted, going back to your slogan of what's trying something new, we've never actually opened a bottle of port together and drank it. So this one has special significance for me, this particular bottle, because it's been handed down from my father, who's no longer with us. Coincidentally, his birthday would have been this week. So good timing for the episode.
Yeah.
But for me, this particular wine was, my father loved his alcohol. Like, he's a bit of a joker, but he also loved family gatherings and opening a bottle.
Yeah.
And specifically, he liked port as his after dinner drink. And, a few times we'd open up like a much younger one, but he specifically purchased these 2 bottles that were from 1940, the year that he's born, and 45, just because he loves it so much. It's the only time I think I've seen him invest more than $100. Like, if you were to like Google this, and this bottle would be around $300+ at auction. So for this bottle, it was more around, unfortunately, my dad just only was able to try the 1940 on his last few months. He didn't quite get to enjoy it, but I didn't want this bottle to go to waste. And so I thought this was a good occasion to bring it up and try it together.
Thanks for sharing it with us. What a moment, and big memories that are coming out of there. So did he purchase this later? So
so he purchased
when did he purchase it?
At least one of these bottles, I think the 45 he purchased a bit earlier, but the 1940 he did purchase in the last 10 years, and we only just opened it, and he had like maybe one small glass, and unfortunately he was on too many medications to be able to really enjoy it. But it was really really amazing wine. I've never had obviously anything like that. I've had a few port wines before. I've been to Porto, much younger variants, but we'll see how this one is.
Yeah, great.
To your point before, it's so much more about like the price of the wine or the age of the wine. It's about the kind of memories that you kind of share, and it's bonded with the wine that you have with both your dad, and now hopefully we can also share that as well. So really good. So 78-year-old wine. So what year is that, Jason? Do you know?
Yeah, it's 1945, because I think he said that just earlier, which is great. Don't try to test me with my maths. But it's a long time.
Yeah. So you notice there's 2 dates on the label. One is 1945 vintage, and then it's also bottled 21st of July 1969. It's a grandfather port, and it has the words, well-aged ports made from Shiraz grapes in Barossa, matured in small oak cask. So it's kind of 3 significant things that you see on the label here. One, 1945. So that was when World War II finished. So quite a big point in history. And then the next one's bottled 21st of July 1969. And do you know what happened on 20th of July 1969? Taking you back.
No, because I wasn't even born. What happened?
I thought you were that old. No, 20th of July 1969 is when the first moon landing happened.
Wow, two significant dates and
Two significant
periods.
dates.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
You didn't know that? Okay. And do you know why it's called the Grandfather Port as well?
No, tell me, because the port had its... No, I don't know. What's...
No, the grandfather made them. No. The reason why it's called the Grandfather Port is in Penfolds, they use a system called the Solera system. So when you think Solera, think about a pyramid. And at the top, there's the youngest ports or youngest wines. And then it gets older and older and older towards the bottom. So the bottom there is what they call the grandfather type of ports. And the idea of that one is you keep moving the younger ones towards the lower ones and the lower ones from that one to the lower one underneath that. So it starts to blend together and create a sort of consistency in the style. So for this one, grandfather used the oldest one there. So you have all the ones at the bottom, they mix them together, they create the style, they age it for 14 years, and then they bring it back out. And this is where we have the 14-year-old aging, and 1969 we actually have the port.
So this is at the bottom of the pyramid that's blended in with all of the other flavors from other generations. Wow. Okay.
So that's when you
even
have,
more special.
That's why for Penfolds you have like the father, the grandfather, and on the rare ones, the great grandfather type of ports as well. So there's only really kind of those good vintages where they start to kind of add it towards that system and trying to maintain the consistency. And it's also not that it's every year they release these type of ports, and only on certain years.
Yeah.
Or else they would have been all gone, right? Diluted and everything like that. So very special, I guess, to be trying this grandfather port. And one day we can also try, I've got another grandfather port here as well, which is actually from my grandfather. So it wasn't named after him.
Yeah.
So can you try that? Again, I don't know what year it is here. But yeah, great to see these kind of grandfather ports. We should drink more fortified wines, and let's just try this one.
Look, I don't know about you guys, but the smell is really intoxicating. It's got this sweet, and when you said brandy, this raisiny flavor, I'm really looking forward to trying it.
I know it's getting warm here, and in Australia it is warm is summer, and for me it smells a bit like Christmas kind of coming through.
Yeah, it's that Christmas raisin pudding kind of thing that I
Yeah, literally, I had the 1940 at Christmas with my father. So
Yeah.
Again, another special moment.
Okay.
I'm looking at the bottle as well, and you can tell the age. There's a fair bit of sediment and I don't know what the kind of like dusting around it.
it's, I think they call it crusting. Yeah,
Crusting that's come through, so you can tell the age. Let's give this a go. So let's try and look at it from the eyes, nose, and mouth. And if you were to describe this on the eyes, Nishant, what kind of colors are you seeing here? Wow.
Yeah, typically for your normal fortifieds, I think you would see much richer colors here. This one's a bit more browner, I think, just because it's due to the pure aging process of it.
I think it's similar to those kind of really kind of old wines as well, that kind of brickishness, kind of orangey type of look. And you can see that with age, the tannins also break down. So that's why there's a bit more translucent.
You can see through it.
That's definitely the case in this one. It's just...
The thing that stands out for me is that yellow ring around it. It kind of almost looks like it's olive oil.
Which shows more age as well.
Around it. So the color going away from the wine. That's great. Okay. And on the nose...
Raisins. Just raisins.
It's really intoxicating.
It's
the raisins,
closest,
and it's the alcohol. There's still a fair bit of heat that was coming out of it. We were talking about it earlier. How much alcohol is in port typically?
This isn't actually stated because in those days they didn't list the alcohol ratings. So it's only our guess at the moment. Maybe the new one has more the alcohol ratings on it.
You can taste it, you can let me know. But we'll find out.
But it certainly comes through on the nostrils. Let's give it a taste. Cheers to your dad. Thank you for sharing this and joining us on this, Nish.
That sweetness really hits you straight away, doesn't it?
The thick, viscous syrup like honey is the first thing I get on the palate.
You mentioned thick, but I was expecting thicker.
Right.
Because I'm thinking like that kind of honey. I'm thinking kind of thick syrupy, but it's actually was it a lighter viscosity than what I was thinking.
I just find it like just super smooth, right? Like in terms of having any of these really strong wines, you just...
It's like butterscotch as well, kind of coming through. Which I think will go really well with these, not egg tarts, pastel de nata, Qatar. So there's 4 here, so someone can go for seconds. Do you want to try this with the port now?
Absolutely. Nishant, grab one.
So I went out early this morning. As soon as it opened, 8:30 a.m. and then got these ones. It's got the crunch now.
Wow.
Still.
Everyone can probably hear that. Thank you for grabbing these all the way from
This is amazing.
Portugal. Okay, that's not egg tart.
Have you had it before?
I think I have, but
No.
not as good as this. Like the flaky pastry is amazing.
With the port as well.
It definitely goes with the port.
Oh, I'm in heaven, I think.
Yeah, typically, like a lot of people have it with the desserts, right? Too.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. Even despite both of them being really sweet, they still complement each other.
Sorry, I'm just in the moment now. Just like
Can't even talk. Sweet, but it's not overpowering. You're not getting sick of it. You kind of just want a bit of more. There's something really interesting about the port. I don't know if you guys get it. I get a bit of like a charcoal flavor, not in a bad way, but something's been charred on the barbecue a bit. Not like a bitter flavor, but it's kind of got this smokiness to it. Do you guys get that?
I know what you mean.
There's some little element of that in there.
It's that kind of, yeah.
It's so interesting.
It hits you with a raisin first, but then I get that kind of butterscotchy kind of caramel kind of thing. But I get what you mean with that kind of smoke kind of coming through, but very subtle.
Yeah. Not in a bad way. And what else do we have in front of us? What's this big slab here?
I brought a big slab here.
What a big slab.
It's my wife brought it, but it's also another classic pairing. It's not sweet with sweet, but it's salty with sweet. But it's a blue cheese, a Gorgonzola Dolce. Blue cheese. I know we had it in one of the other episodes doing salty with sweet, but that time it was a sauterne.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
With blue cheese. This time we got some port here, sweet wine.
I can already.
With the blue cheese. And I know last time it was like amazing 9 out of 10 corkscrew type of pairing.
That was heaven. Yes.
He's more heaven as well. So we had the custard pastel de nata tarts, and now we've got blue cheese as well.
Wow.
It's contributing towards the chunga dunkers, but who cares?
We're here to enjoy. Let's give this a go. So we've got some spoons here. Nish, grab a spoon. Oh, you got that.
I was going to scoop it.
Serve the guests. Good man. Dolce.
I don't think I've ever had port and blue cheese.
Port and cheese is a first for everything.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
It's good cheese. Still goes very well with it.
It goes well. I don't know. I think
sauterne
the
was
sauterne
better.
was better. Was the sauterne cooler? Was that cold or not? It was a room temperature?
Probably room temperature by the time we actually did it.
There's something a bit different about it, but it still goes.
Still go.
Not maybe
But the
not as
custard
good as the
tart was better.
sauterne. Yes, yeah, I agree. I'm like, I want to eat 5 more custard tarts as well. Really good. So should we do corkscrew ratings
Corkscrew ratings.
on the port? And I have to say, I haven't had much port in my life. I've really imagined. I always just imagine brandy, but a bit sweeter, to be honest. Sounds like you've had a fair bit of port. Nish, out of 10, using the wind-up corkscrew rating that's soon to be international, what would you
best
give
in the world,
this?
yeah?
Yeah, out of 10, what would you give the port?
I definitely would sort of say that this is up there in terms of the best that I've sort of had, right? I think still this one, maybe the cellaring wasn't as good when I took it over in the last few years. Maybe that's why it's a bit different. But definitely the 1940 was like hands down, like if you were to rank for me ports, that would be like a 10 out of 10. This would be between 8 or 9 for me because it's still really, really good and super, super smooth. And that's what I'm looking for. But it's just doesn't, I don't know, just missing a little bit of something that I would probably, in order for me to give it a 9 or 10, like fully.
Yeah.
What about you? You've had a bit more port than me, than I'm assuming, because you've been there.
I've been there, tried it. I think for me, it would have been a 7 out of 10, but then with the custard tarts, it would have been 8 out of 10.
Really?
It did lift it
Yeah.
when I had the tarts with it.
What's the difference between the port that you'd had over there and this one, like in terms of, because you're giving it a 7, so there's something that's a bit different.
You're talking like over 10 years ago, so my memory kind of evades me at the moment because it's this kind of old age that I kind of have at the moment. But for me, it's complex, it's smooth, but maybe I was expecting a bit more in terms of a bit more body to it.
Okay.
I think maybe that's what's kind of missing for me.
Yeah, got it. Look for me, as someone who hasn't had too much port, I got to say, I really enjoyed the flavor. I enjoyed it to taste. I like the complexity. That kind of charcoal thing that I was talking about was really making me think about it. And for that reason, I give it an 8 out of 10 because it's something I enjoyed and made me think. And it's also a special moment for us to be together.
Yeah.
And to have a good memory of your dad as well. Yeah. So that's been great. Thanks for sharing this, Nish.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And so that probably takes us to the end.
It takes us to the end.
Did you have any last thoughts you wanted to share?
Last thoughts, again, kind of harks back to what we said earlier around... So I've got one of the producers here talking about the wonderful T-shirt that Nishant's got as well. Did you notice it?
No. What's the T-shirt?
You guys actually just described the boats coming down in Porto. This is like literally the T-shirt I got in Porto.
You didn't notice it?
I did not notice that. You should have said that at the start.
Portuguese flag and everything. Yeah, just for the occasion.
While you were there, you purchased it?
Yeah, that's what I did.
Well done.
Yeah.
This is from Blacktown, but
and this is from Uniqlo as well.
But it's a good part to
my last thoughts, thank you again for sharing this moment with us and sharing the port as well, because I know that it's very kind of close to you, and that's connections between you and your father, and kind of sharing that with us as well means it does mean a lot in terms of sharing that, but it's also I guess a signal of that kind of solidarity around the friends and the kind of bring us together as well. So thank you.
Yeah, and definitely thanks to you guys, because especially we talk about wine all the time, but I've learned a lot just listening to you guys, like in terms of your journey and being able to share that with everyone. So it's been appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great, and we're looking forward to having you on more often. as our guest for this. So that takes us to the end. Again, really appreciate you joining us and sharing this, and great time to celebrate your dad. If we think about our slogan, like you said, it's really helped us all the way in putting that through, because we don't have very many ports.
Yeah.
So let's put that slogan together as we say thank you, drink more, try more, learn more.
Thanks
everyone.
Bye.